In the year 21X, Lord Boxman opened a store to arm his robot horde. But the heroes of Lakewood Plaza
are ready to fight! KO Renegade are in battle mode. Once you keep the bag, I silly all explode. Power up and fight, let's watch an episode of Lakewood
Podcast
Turbo.
Mega huge man, 5'10", which isn't that tall, but it's still taller than me. In this week's episode of Lakewood Podcast Turbo, I'm your host Wyatt, and if this doesn't bring in any money, we're never doing this again. Who is here with me today, as always?
How do we tell him? It's Buster.
And we're here to talk about episodes 13 and 14 of the late great show, OK KO Let's Be Heroes on Cartoon Network. Interesting episode. We're talking about the very first episode produced for the show, with episode 13, Be Like a Pebble. We should jump right into it.
This is often considered the worst episode of the show by everyone I talk to.
Or one of the weakest, I would say.
Yeah.
I actually think it's very good. I thought it was very funny.
I appreciated it more on this watch through.
Yeah. I think it's just weird tonally because it feels so much more like one of the shorts than it does like one of the it's very similar to like the episode with Gar and the picture of Carol.
Yeah.
Where it felt more like, oh, this is like one of those shorts that they made before the show. Like
it has weirdly fluid
it has weirdly fluid animation. It's like kind of a very simple plot. No real like villain thing or any like
except for
larger
that rat.
world building. Yeah, there's a fight with a rat at the end. But like honestly, like probably the best performance out of Stephanie Nadolny.
Yeah, this is her last appearance in the show as KO.
Yeah. And ironically, because it's technically her first.
Yeah.
Because again, it was the first, produced episode, and it was Geneva and Mira. So, Geneva Hudson, Mira Angchua, and I said it before in like previous episodes that they have like a more reeled in, sort of like down to earth style. I think this is probably out of all the episodes we've seen so far, kind of their most out there, sort of like wacky episode, because the premise of like KO eating some candy that makes him grow gigantic and then he's just like destroying all of this property and causing all of this chaos. There's a lot of like weird wacky cartooniness in this episode that kind of isn't present in some of their other episodes.
Yeah, honestly, what this reminds, the premise reminds me of? Those kind of, like, GameCube, like, Hulk Ultimate Destruction, like, Godzilla games where you just tear up the whole thing. And it's just, you don't really give a care about the morality, you're just having fun.
Yeah, that's something, back in my day, we just had a bunch of games where you were just a thing fucking up a city, or, like, whether it was Godzilla or War of the Monsters or Hulk, Jaws, he was fucking people up. Grand Theft Auto obviously was like,
the big point
of that. But then like even stuff like Katamari was like, oh, you're a little guy and you're slowly growing this ball bigger and bigger, and it's just like absorbing and consuming and destroying more of this. What does this say about post 9/11 America? I don't know, but that's a discussion for another day.
This ain't the Mr. Ender show.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the the ramifications of that, especially because Katamari Damacy was a Japanese game, so it has pretty much nothing to do with any of that. Though I will say, its weird quirkiness probably was a huge attracting factor, to Americans at that time that just wanted an escape. So I'll say that, there's the connection there. But either way,
back to the episode.
I was gonna say, don't worry, we'll talk about 9/11 more often as we go on. But I did talk about it in my Megas XLR video, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Just saying that, like, maybe
you did it before it was cool.
Yeah. I was saying that maybe the show wasn't like didn't catch on, like maybe the people behind the scenes didn't like it as much because it was like a robot annihilating New Jersey every single like literally leveling the city almost every single fucking episode, which is to me as a 9-year-old watching it, I was like, this is hilarious and awesome. But maybe the like 40-year-old suits at Turner were like, this might cause some friction with blah blah blah. But either way, I don't know. This episode, again, like very basic sort of episode, but yeah. So would you say that's it's one of the weaker ones, or how'd you feel about it going into
but
it?
it's still a good like ish episode. Like it does like it probably is the weakest one we've covered so far. But there's still a lot of good in it where I would not call it bad. It was still very charming. Yeah. I really like the fight with the rat.
Yeah, it's surprisingly really cool.
Yeah.
For like early OK KO, like just not that much like actual action happening, but the fact that you have like those like painted Desaki impact frames of like the punching is really cool.
Also just like rat fights.
Yeah.
That's a very weird thing to say, but still.
Yeah. Technically the first appearance of Beardo, though it's also technically his second appearance.
Yeah.
Who is the like Turkish/Russian like food car owner guy.
Yeah. I like him a lot,
Yeah.
I want to eat. Again, like I think we said this in an earlier episode, but it would have been a perfect Comic-Con appearance to have a little food truck like that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. To have like all the wacky burritos and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know, like just a cool, like to me, I always get a kick out of seeing the immigrant characters, like whether like mostly like if they're like Eastern European stuff like that, like Rolf from Ed and Eddie.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, yes, it reminds me of, my Russian grandmothers and things like that. So, it's just it's a nice little touchstone there,
It reminds you at home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thank God I never lived in Russia, but because that place is a fucking shithole. But and it's also like committing a bunch of war crimes now.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, against Ukraine, but and
that's the second global crisis we've talked about in this episode.
Yeah, that's OK KO just brings out the best in everybody. So, that's what podcasts are for, is to go off on tangents and talk about completely insane things that aren't even tangentially related to the thing that you're talking about.
Yeah. Actually, like, speaking of the thing we're talking about, I do like the pitched KO voice. I think that was very cute.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, I would say, like, Stephanie Nadolny actually did, like, a really good job.
She was getting, like, a hang of her character. Unfortunately, she couldn't, like, keep getting a hang of it, but hey, it happens.
Yeah, only in, like, a few episodes after this, and then it's gone. And this is, like, the last appearance, like, chronologically as far as airing goes.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was, like, it might have been a time concern, She's also is, like, an older actress, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like, the person, Courtney Taylor, who replaced KO is, like, so good that, like, I don't blame them for replacing her, because that, like, again, like, I think that Taylor just gets a way better performance out, even if I do have that nostalgic spot for, like, Goku and Gohan and stuff.
Yeah.
That old Funimation voice. But it's the same thing as, like, I have a soft spot for, like, the Funimation, like the original Funimation voice for Frieza, where he sounded like, kind of an old lady. I still have, like, a soft spot for that. But to me, like, the perfect dub Frieza, well, it's a little Karibo, but the official dub Frieza is Greg Ayers, who did him in Kai.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, and this is, like, a fucking amazing voice. It's just, like, it's almost as good as Ryusei Nakao.
Yeah.
The Japanese one, which, I mean, he's just perfect. But, like, it's so close. I will say, though, I'm of the opinion that Brian Drummond, the ocean voice for Vegeta, is a better Vegeta than Chris Sabat. Because he just sounds more like weaselly and high-pitched, more like real Horikawa. Whereas like Chris Sabat is doing this like deep voice. This doesn't fit Vegeta, for me personally.
I'm mostly familiar with Chris Sabat through the My Hero Academia dub.
As All Might.
Yeah, he does a great job as him.
Yeah, he's All Might. He's Piccolo is like a big one.
Yeah.
Yamcha, and then of course Vegeta is probably like his biggest role there. Oh, and Kuwabara in Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, I've only read the manga for that, so I can't hear the voices.
Yeah, English dub of Yu Hakusho, very beloved. I think it's like a really good English dub. I still prefer it in Japanese just because I just like the original versions of things.
Yeah.
Not like necessarily if they're Japanese or like if something's in French, I'd want to watch it in French, not in English or whatever.
Yeah, but you want to get the original intent.
Exactly. Like I remember like years ago, this is like 2009 or 10 or whatever, there was like one of those like Yahoo Ask things of like, does anybody have a Japanese dubbed version of Avatar?
Oh.
Because it's like an anime-esque show. I want to watch it in Japanese because I just prefer that. And like that kind of shit, it's like, that's lame.
Yeah, it's like when people are like, oh my god, remember this dumb tweet where someone put like The Boys in Japanese and they're like, it's like a seinen anime, and I'm like, I'm about to
like they're speaking the Japanese language. I don't know what to, the fact that you just think Japanese people talking is like, it's like anime. It's just
that says more about you than it does me. That's all I'll say.
I'll say that obviously like with VO and with like on-screen performances, there is a different like energy there.
Yeah.
So like I always thought it was interesting that the Japanese audio for Final Fantasy 12, like I believe it was kind of all recorded on set because it's like the room tone and the sound, the energy sounds so much like Kamen Rider.
Yeah.
Or like just tokusatsu in general,
as
opposed to like the VO like that you get from like Japanese voiceover and stuff like that. Like it feels more natural in like
this is like the best sell I have to play Final Fantasy 12, to be honest.
Yeah, to play it in Japanese and be like, yeah.
Or just play it in general, just because it's like, the voice acting will be different. Like,
the English voices are really good, but it's just like that they're going for like theater production style.
Yeah, more J-drama-esque.
Yeah, well, in the English one, it's like straight up like Shakespearean sort of like on the stage theater, like Dickens, that kind of like
those fellas
thing. Mm-hmm. But
just the Pebble was good.
I think it's a lot stronger than I've given it credit for throughout the years. I've never disliked it. I don't think I hate any episode or dislike any episode of OK KO. The only other one I can think of that people don't like is the gun control episode.
We're gonna have a fun one talking about that one.
Let's not be skeletons. That episode. I remember, good friend Mr. Enter. He's
a recurring character now on this podcast.
Is like he put it on one of his like, when he made like a list of worst episodes of cartoons or whatever, like he would use that episode as like a benchmark or whatever. For,
I want to save my thoughts for that, but I do think people misunderstand it a bit. Like I do agree with like some of the points, but I don't think it's a bad episode, and I still think it comes from a good place.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like people going back to it as older people.
Yeah,
because like a lot of people that I saw that were critical of it, people like Nintendo who maybe stay tuned next week.
Yeah.
Like said that they didn't enjoy it, but they're also like they're a lot younger than me. I'm not saying like, oh, they're fucking dumb or whatever, but like maybe your opinion changes quite a bit in your early 20s, depending on like from year to year, like month to month. So like sometimes things that you were like really hung up on really don't matter as much. Like when I was 22 and Mario Odyssey was coming out, I was like, oh yeah, 3D World, that game fucking sucks, and Mario was boring and shitty and blah, 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 and now it's back to being cool and creative. Now, enough time has passed that I'm like, I don't know, that shit's cool too, like, sometimes just good level design and, like, good gameplay and things like that is just good enough. It doesn't necessarily need all of the flourishes that something, I appreciate it, in something like Odyssey, but, like, opinion just gets, like, more complex, more nuanced.
Yeah, as you get older, as you think about it more.
Yeah, so, like, that can be applied to, like, this episode as well. Like, there was a factor of it where it's, like, it feels awkward because it's clearly, like, an early episode. Honestly, though, like, I know that they said, like, oh, we wanted to make a bunch of episodes before making the first chronological episode because we wanted to make sure that one was, like, really good. I think that they nailed that, but I also think that this as a first episode was pretty good.
Yeah, like as a second pilot.
Like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it is very piloty in some ways, but like not, I don't know, it's just like a very interesting little artifact of an episode. Again, weirdly fluid animation.
I do think, like, if one later episode midway through the show had to be weaker for the first episode to bang, that was a good call.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just like a nice little, like, side plot, side episode sort of thing, It doesn't, like, overstay its welcome. It's fun. It's got the characters, mostly acting in character and everything. Yeah, just, like, a good time. Definitely, like, if you turned your nose up at it in the past, I would say come back to it and check it out again.
Yeah.
The next episode, episode 14, presenting Joe Cuppa, boarded by Stevie Borbola and Danny Ducker. I think they've done, like, one episode before this.
This is the first time I think I'm hearing about them on the show.
I was going to say this might be the first time. Either that or, like, it just didn't note it in a previous episode. I think it's the first time, though, that they appeared. And I remember later, during the final episode, Stevie specifically mentioned, or Danny Ducker, one of the two, boarded this episode, specifically mentioned they wanted to do the final scene where, like, Joe Cuppa gets, sent to hell or whatever by the Shannons because they hated, like, this was their first episode and they, like, have almost like a traumatic experience, with Joe Cuppa. So they were like, they wanted to get back at him in some way. But I'll say, like, again, this is just like a very, like, just so many jokes sort of episode.
I mean, the episode does star a comedian, so it would be weird if there was, like, not.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, the jokes are, obviously they're so bad it's good, but then it's like, the humor comes from the pain that's inflicted on Enid throughout the episode, of, like, just how unfunny all
reactionary humor. Even then, I do like the puns. I'm a big lover of puns, so
like just how relentless Joe Cuppa is in all of the stupid jokes is just a lot of fun. I gotta ask, do you drink coffee?
No, actually, I've never drank coffee in my life.
Cool. I also do not drink coffee. So,
well, actually, like, I'm looking through the episode screen caps, and it's like when Joe Cuppa disguises himself as a way to just, like, steal a bunch of stuff, like, from the, like, like, his beard kind of looks like your beard.
That's true.
Like, or maybe that's just a common beard. I don't know.
Like, yeah, I mean, I was a fat white guy, whatever, big beard. But like, coffee, like, I've never really enjoyed. I don't get, like, energy from caffeine. I don't know. I just have, like, a weird metabolism where, like, drinking like caffeinated beverages or whatever doesn't really, like, give me that much energy. Sometimes it, like, depletes my energy.
Yeah, I can feel that.
The only time I've, like, really gotten, like, significant energy from a drink was, like, 5-hour energy.
Oh, God.
Stuff like that, which is,
I've only seen ads for it. But...
Yeah, it's like it's similar to I don't know if you ever played. I don't know if you've ever played Yakuza or been to Japan.
I've played Yakuza.
But in, like, convenience stores, they have those little, like, shot cups of energy drink,
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's what that is, essentially. Just the, like...
Yeah. I mean, actually, like I know, like it's like coffee versus tea. That's the big debate among drink people. I don't know.
Yeah, I just like tea more.
Yeah,
you know?
I need to get back on tea. I really like Snapples. So.
Yeah, and like brewing tea and everything, like green tea and stuff. That like green tea really helped when I had COVID and I had like a really sore throat. Just like green tea with a ton of honey in it. You know, that would just like help. It's genuine, like, you know, hey, those our ancestors thousands of years ago that were like, yeah, let's fucking boil these leaves, baby. They were right. That shit does help. It does have healing properties.
Yeah.
So,
And also, like back on the Joe Cuppa, like I love his facial expressions because he has no mouth, but his eyes are just so expressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Characters with no mouths but like really expressive eyes, I love. Like, I always love those kind of characters.
Yeah, it's
especially
probably why
like
I designed my mascot with no mouth.
Yeah, like one of my favorites is Peepers in Wander Over Yonder. He has one eye and like no mouth or face or anything, but it's like one of the most expressive characters.
Oh yeah,
in
the
the
Tom
show.
Kenny
Like
guy.
Yeah, it's just like such a beautifully designed, beautifully acted character. Tom Kenny's just so funny.
Yeah.
Playing him and everything, and you know, like, I mean, I fucking love that show, but like, and all the aspects of it, but definitely Hater and Peepers are my favorite facet of Wander Over Yonder, and like, yeah, I just really love the expressive character, even in Kate Cosmic, which has Stuck Chuck, who is also a Tom Kenny character. He has like a weird squid mouth instead of a normal face, and like he is a very expressive and endearing character despite the fact that he has no mouth or anything to speak of. I don't know, yeah, it's just that's a good observation, the fact that Joe Cuppa is super expressive. And I think like for if this is their first time boarding an episode of a show, like, yeah, it has like a roughness to it compared to some of the other episodes, but like it's still like super funny. It still feels like an OK KO episode.
Yeah,
you know, it's in step with the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, like OK KO is just, in my opinion, I also associate it with experimental animation or just like very experimental expression. So like, hey, you know, like this fits just too well. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
and like I don't know, just just having like the final fight of the episode be Joe Cuppa beating the shit out of Shannon with the power of like bad puns.
Yeah, that shit goes hard.
Yeah.
Like, I just love when like characters like just do something to like summon attacks through like either bad jokes or singing. That's a very niche thing, I know, but like I want to see more of that because that shit goes hard. Yeah,
it's like almost like a stand.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of thing.
What would Joe Cuppa's stand be?
I mean, it would like what would it be named?
Yeah.
I don't know. Trying to think of a good album name.
Like a song name. Oh, I think Big Ego by Jim's Big. No, that Jim's Big Ego was a different thing. There was a song by Jim's Big Ego where he talked about coffee a lot. So.
Yeah.
Probably like it got used in the Jim Sterling show a lot back in the day.
Yeah. So probably that.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, Folgers commercial. Why not? But yeah, so Joe Cuppa, good guy, very funny character. Doesn't really appear that much after this.
Yeah, I think this is like more of a guest star because like I think his voice actor is like an actual comedian.
If I remember correctly, when they were recording the final episode, you know, they kind of like got him on like his lunch break or whatever to record one line, and or he recorded like a bunch of lines, but because Joe Cuppa has no mouth, they're able to just like pick the best one and put it there with, you know, like after animating it already.
Yeah.
And according to them, like because the emotions were high in the studio at that time, everybody was like red-eyed and tearing up and everything, and then this like guy comes in to record things for like 15 minutes for lunch, and just seeing like all these adults crying their eyes because they're working on the final like emotional send-off to this cartoon that's been their life for the past few years. You know, it was just like a very funny, kind of pathetic but a heartwarming scene. you know. So
okay, Joe Cuppa's voice actor is Andrew Dubois, I think is pronounced.
Yeah, I am not a comedy professional. Like, I don't really know that much about like the comedy world or like those people. There are people that are way more knowledgeable of that than me, so I'm not familiar.
Yeah, me neither. Apparently, he's worked with Conan O'Brien, so I guess.
So yeah, that makes sense. And he has like that like Rodney Dangerfield style, like you know, delivery and everything. Like he feels like a hack comedian. That's what, like, again, like very relatable episode with Enid. You know, where it's like you're just frustrated because the jokes are so clearly bad. Yeah. And Rad is such a pretentious douche all the time about like his taste. So the fact that he thinks that this is funny and then is like almost like roping in KO to be complicit in thinking this stupid garbage is funny is just very funny. Yeah. Like it's just like
that's basically just a character dynamic in general.
Yeah.
Like Rad gets KO on something and it's like, oh, okay, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, these episodes, they do kind of speak for themselves. Yeah. You know?
But I'd say both of them are mostly lean on the comedy side, but they're really good jokes. So.
Yeah, I think that the episode 13 has a bit more action. Again, with the fighting the rat in the sewer and everything. It's an interesting artifact of like an earlier version of the show and like where it could have gone, or like rather, just like seeing the style and everything that's like not 100% formed, you know. And then it's fun going from that episode, which feels like such an early sort of episode, to then this one, which is kind of like a little bit deeper into season 1, you know, into the production. Yeah. And it's like by these sort of newcomer storyboard artists, and it has a sort of like rough kind of, again, like a more experimental sort of style to it almost. And yet like, I feel like this is probably one of the more memorable episodes of the whole show to me. Like I always think about this. I always think of like, just Joe Cuppa in general, the weird mouth.
Yeah, Joe Cuppa I think was like one of the first like episodes post the premiere like hype that I remember seeing, and I'm like, this show. Yeah, exactly. Like it felt like the time where the show became a regular fixture in my life for a bit. You know?
It wasn't like a like, oh yeah, that thing aired, but maybe it will fall off. Who knows? Yeah. Like around this time was when they started to like put more effort into. Or maybe not put more effort, but that's when it's
like it already cemented itself as a classic in our eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And like I remember with Craig the Creek, like because I would watch on the Cartoon Network app.
Oh God,
because I didn't have cable, but I did have my parents' cable login, so I could use that.
No, I just remember like I was watching like a few Steven Universe episodes in the Cartoon Network app because I was like away from my like TV, or I was like out and like I forgot where I was, but like I was like out somewhere, and it was like I had to like I gotta watch the new Cartoon Network Steven Universe episodes, Cartoon Network episodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this was like 2017. This was like Aquamarine, Topaz, like those episodes.
Yeah, I think it was like season 4 episodes.
Maybe like the Human Zoo before that, you know.
Yeah, I remember I remember I think it was like Aquamarine episodes. Those were the ones I remember watching. But yeah, frick the Cartoon Network app, like it sucks.
Yeah. It does kind of suck. I do have nostalgia for it, obviously, just cuz like I have nostalgia for television in general. Yeah. But like I would keep up with OK KO through the app, and then like that's how I got interested in other shows that were airing on Cartoon Network at the time, stuff like Apple and Onion, just because like there would be a stream like of just like random episodes of shows, so it'd be like that and like Unikitty, which is a pretty good show. And Apple and Onion I really like, especially now because eventually like people who worked on it would go on to make Battle Kitty, and that's a fucking masterpiece. So definitely, if you liked Battle Kitty, go back and check out Apple and Onion. It's super underrated.
Man, like, what's with all these Netflix cat cartoons, man?
Yeah. I don't Battle Kitty, it's just like, it's so good.
You just send me like a list of all the cartoons you got into around this time so I could do research.
Yeah. Battle Kitty, Man, I would say like it I kind of described its art style as like almost like a 3DS game.
Ooh.
You know, it like looks very much like New Leaf, like Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Okay, you sold me because I love the 3DS.
Yeah, very like bright neon sort of like smoother polygonal style. You know, like character like faces are not modeled; they're just like textures, things like that. It's just very appealing art, and it is very similar to OK KO in that it's like ostensibly an action show, but it's also like mostly a comedy thing. But then when it does do action, you're like, oh fucking hell yeah, bro. So it like can get there, and it has like a crazy ending to its first season. I'll be very mad if it doesn't get a second season, but knowing Netflix's track record, it is probably scrapped forever. So that sucks.
Like it sucks because it's like the animation industry is pumping out all this great stuff, but none of the corporations want to like support it.
I know, it sucks. I will say, like, to finish what I was saying about the Cartoon Network app, that like that's how I first like I was like kind of aware of Craig of the Creek beforehand, just as like, oh, okay, some Steven Universe people went on to make another show that's more normal. It's like set in a normal world. It wasn't until seeing like an episode just pop up on the app that made me go like, oh, okay, this is a pretty good show, you know. And then
I need to get back on Craig.
Yeah, I started watching it,
but I never finished it.
Yeah, I started watching it from the beginning, and I sort of had this idea in my head of the show being like maybe more saccharine than it actually turned out to be, you know? And then like watching it, I was like, oh, okay, this is like actually really funny, you know, because I would say like Steven, I love it, but like I wouldn't say it's like super funny.
It's more charming.
Especially like past the first season. It's mostly like charming, and there's like great character stuff and you know, good plotting and everything. Whereas like Craig the Creek, you know, I figured it would kind of be similar to that, kind of more similar tonally to something like, you know, Summer Camp Island and things like that. I don't want to say the term sweet weird, you know, because I think that's a dumb term, but maybe that is an appropriate thing of where my mind was at in 2018. But like just watching the show, I was like, oh, okay, this actually does have some sort of like edge to it, in a way, you know. So like that, then like now that OK KO has been over for years, Craig of the Creek has been my like, you know, the horse that I'm saddled to on Cartoon Network this whole time. I fucking love that show, and I'm like, I'm sad to see it go, but I'm glad it still has another entire season ahead of itself. You know, there's still like,
stuff to look forward to as of the time of this video's making.
Yeah, so even if the Jessica show, the spinoff, is like in a fucking limbo, and I probably wouldn't be very interested in it anyway, you know, just because it's a preschool show. But like, I don't know. I mean, We Baby Bears, which that isn't technically a preschool show, just involves baby characters, you know, but it isn't a preschool show, you know. Like that's a very good show. So maybe when Craig dies, I'll jump on that.
That's a horrible,
you know?
thought. It is happening.
Well, Craig, like that's gonna happen soon. But you know, thus is the way of television right now.
No, I was thinking like the character, and I'm like, bro, that's it. He's still.
Yeah, when Craig Williams himself dies. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that's. I think that will do it. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there about these two episodes?
They good, and I think that like this is probably like the most. This was like the part where it's like Cartoon Network stopped promoting it, but like I think like this is like the end of the premiere week, so it's like
basically.
So it's like I still have fond memories of these episodes, but it is kind of like, oh, going forward, like they're basically fighting to survive.
If
network.
you want to. Yeah, exactly. If you want to be into OK KO, you have to put in the effort to like, follow the show. And thankfully, I had that. Yeah, same. You know, it was, you know, since I had the cable login, I could do that on the Cartoon Network app. And then, like, also at the same time, DuckTales was starting. DuckTales, I think Big City Greens was still a year off. I think that was 2018.
That was 2018.
Yeah, and then, of course, like... kind of the last year I had cable was 2019, which was like Mao Mao on Cartoon Network. That's when
Man,
that
I'm
was
still so
airing.
pissed about what happened to Mao Mao.
Yeah. And then it was on Disney. It was Amphibia.
Yeah.
Just like coming home, like during the summer, coming home every day from work and being like, oh, there's 2 new episodes. Cool. And watching them. They burned through the first season, which is a problem in its own way. But it was a really good first season, so I'm glad I got to enjoy it that way. But either way, yeah. So, Buster, why don't you tell everybody where we can find you?
Hi, you're probably watching this on my channel. If not, welcome to the Spotify. But if you aren't watching this on my channel, I'm Buster Corp. I do too many analysis videos on too many things. I am basically the equivalent of, like, I have too many interests to talk about on this channel, but mostly tokusatsu. So you can find that at the Buster Corp channel. I also do podcasts over at Modular Media, so if you want to hear more of me in audio form, rambling about various stuff, to go there. I'm also on Twitter at BusterBoy3, just stream of consciousness. Sometimes I do things, I don't know. And yeah.
Well, you can go to my Twitter and find my stream of consciousness nonsense at Waz Ranger. That's WAZP Ranger. I do keep whatever the most recent video I made pinned at the top, and you can follow for updates on videos or the podcast, though it will probably get buried under a wave of garbage that I'm just posting about constantly. Maybe not that constantly, but just, I'm retweeting a lot of garbage. But either way, my YouTube channel, It's Only Magic, youtube.com. I love that channel. A lot of good stuff on that channel, I think. A lot of personal retrospectives of cartoons. One on OK KO, as I mentioned many times before. If you want to check out one that is unrelated to OK KO, check out the Chowder one. That's one that I hoped would be bigger than it was. I'm always like with videos, because I'm a very small YouTuber. So I'm not, it's not like I don't need it to survive or anything. It is just like whenever I have the time, I'll make a video. But I always have a very well, if not this time, then maybe next time sort of opinion of like videos. I never get I try not to get discouraged necessarily by the perceived unsuccess of a video. I just try to be like, okay, that one didn't hit, but maybe the next one will. I mean, hey, recently the OK KO one, that I think that hit in all the right ways, because I got a lot of comments from people that were either fans of the show or worked on the show that were really grateful for the video.
It was a critical darling, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and then the Camp Lazlo one, I think, got a couple thousand views. It got a pretty good amount of views. I think just because I kind of poured a lot of my heart and soul into that one just to express look, this is a good show.
It's your third most viewed video at time of creation.
Yeah. So either way, yeah. That will do it for this week's episode. Join us next time as we talk about some of my favorite episodes in the whole show. So it's going to be a fun one. And we may or may not have a guest for the next episode. You'll have to see. But either way, catch you next week. See you there.
Do it!